All right, everybody. We are here with Pastor Larry Brey, one of the originals.
I'm here with you. I'm here with you. That's a better way of saying it.
Back in Toronto. Grateful to have you up here.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit, the city.
A little bit busier.
Your space has changed.
Yes.
We're recording this at the offices, and I had not been here yet. And man, God has shown out in Toronto.
It's incredible.
Phenomenal. And so proud of you and the team, what you guys have built, and all of you that are a part of this campus.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your generosity. And we're standing in the middle of a miracle. And but God creates those spaces because of faithful people like you, and like you, and like you, that bring a sacrifice, and God uses it to do something. So just thank you. I'm blessed by being here.
We appreciate it. We're so blessed by you and just the sacrifice that you've done for many, many years, 18 years now, I guess, and even far beyond that. Before it was Elevation Church, you were just serving God. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we're excited. We had you on a little sermon break. Shout out to our sermon break crowd. Monday sermon discussion.
That was fun.
A few weeks ago. It was incredible hearing so many stories from that. So I thought we'd sit down a little bit more in depth and a little bit different vibe, but we're excited about it. Honored to have you up here. Excited to have you back at some point soon too. But let's dive in with a little lightning round.
Okay.
Start there.
Lightning round.
Yes.
Keep it fun.
Is this your lightning round or her lightning round?
It's actually your lightning round.
Touché.
So one thing that not everyone may know, but some may.
Okay.
You love Traegers. So this lightning round is
people might not know what
Traeger.
Sponsored by Traeger.
So not officially, but we're gonna go with it. Explain to everybody what's Traeger.
Oh, a Traeger is a smoker. There's difference in smoke. I'm not talking about recreational, like medicinal. I got
a good distinction.
Not that kind of smoking. This is where you smoke meats in a smoker. Yeah. Traeger is the leading brand of smokers out there, and I love my smoker. I love my Traeger. And I want to get a dog. I already told the kids his name is going to be Traeger.
That's a great name.
It actually really is.
Are they actually the leading brand of smokers? Okay.
They own about 50% of the pellet smoker market.
Wow.
I preached at Elevation a few months ago, and I wore a Traeger shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to order some gear online from the Traeger company, and they weren't going to get it here on time. So I DM'd the CEO of the company. And he responded back within 10 minutes. He's like, absolutely, we'll drop a box in the mail for you tomorrow. Sent me all of this gear. He ended up watching the sermon, reposting the sermon. Doesn't love the Lord, doesn't know the Lord.
Yeah.
But he ended up watching a message from Elevation Church just because a pastor decided to wear a Traeger shirt.
That's incredible.
Couple quick questions with Traeger. Number one, what's your favorite thing to make?
Ooh, baby back ribs.
Baby back ribs.
Oh, yeah. My wife. Well, they're my wife's favorite, so by default they become my favorite. So when I see her smile after she eats the ribs I smoked, that's pretty good.
What's the most unique thing you've cooked on Traeger?
Alligator.
Alligator.
So, but not like parts of an alligator, it's a whole alligator.
Yes.
So I ordered a 5-foot alligator from Florida.
Okay.
And they send it to you freeze-dried, and 5-foot stuffed alligator is phenomenal.
Amazing. Really?
I remember seeing that on social media and
real.
talking to Steven like, is that an actual alligator?
It was real. It was absolutely real. And it was so good. My kids were a little freaked out. They went to some counseling for it. But we've since worked through it, and they're back eating Dad's Traeger goodness.
Love it. All right, that's awesome. Let's
It's a fun lightning round.
Yeah.
I can talk about Traeger all day long. Because it's biblical. You know, the temple was filled with smoke.
Right.
There you go.
God is the original smoker.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
I love it.
That'll preach.
Amen.
You'll
hear that one day.
Yes, for sure. You heard it here first. A lot of people might not know, but I mean, you're an OG. You've been a part of this ministry for 18 years, more than 18 years, really. And that process, that journey that you guys went on, if people haven't seen the 5-Year Church documentary, first of all, you need to watch it. But if you haven't, what was that process like for you? Where did God build your faith? What was that?
It's so much in there. We had the privilege of being one of the original 8 families, and so that dates back to February of 2005, where we had 8 families signed up to sell their homes and quit their jobs, to move to an unnamed city in an unnamed part of the country, to be part of an unnamed church. Like, who wouldn't sign up for that? Doesn't that sound amazing? But it was one of those things for the 8 families that we felt like, what a privilege. What a privilege to be part of a journey that really lives in the land of faith. I think a lot of times we call things faith, but it's more of a calculated outcome that's conducive to our preferred outcome.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we talk about faith. Faith is not in a present God, it's really in a preferred outcome. I got faith that's going to turn out the way I like, or the way I think, or the way I want it. And sometimes we misappropriate, we misdefine. We don't correctly define the word faith.
Right.
Is faith that's going to work out the way I thought it would? We didn't know how it was going to work out. I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Right.
But I think faith is really recognizing that no matter what, God is with me.
Yeah.
God is with me. Some people are in a place like, I don't have enough faith. And yeah, you do. God's with you. If you've received Him, He's with you. So I've learned over time, for me, I think one of the biggest things I'm trying to pass on to my kids is what faith really is.
Right.
It's God doesn't deliver you from situations. He's with you in situations.
Right.
Wow.
We want God to deliver us from things. No. He promises presence with you in the things. Often we want God to save us from situations or save us from circumstances. No. He saves you from your sin.
Right.
And He's with you in the middle of it.
Right.
Wow. That's so good.
So good.
I love that He's with you in the middle
He's
of it.
with you.
Yeah.
That's what my faith is.
Right.
Not that this is going to get better. I hope it does. But my faith is He sees me.
Yeah.
He's not ashamed of me. And He's with me in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Because some people watching this thing are in the middle of a really bad situation. But their prayer life has been around getting out of the situation,
Yeah.
not inviting God into the situation.
Yeah.
Faith, you're with me, God. And even if it doesn't change around me, I can close my eyes and know that you're with me inside.
Yeah.
You're with me in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So that faith.
Yeah, it changes from like a waiting to one day when.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe God will show up when. Oh, I'll just kind of get by, go through the motions, and then someday when I'm through this, then,
Wait.
But it invites God into the process
Yes.
now, and He can do something even in the midst of that situation.
Totally can. Faith is on the flip side of the coin would be blessing. I think we got such an unbiblical view of blessing. Oh, I got a really great parking lot. I'm blessed. They accepted our offer. I'm blessed. And so when it doesn't work out, does that mean I'm not blessed?
Right.
Yeah.
Look what God has done in our ministry. We're blessed at Elevation. How about the church that isn't seeing that? They're not blessed. So blessing is not the outcome. Blessing is the presence. Blessing is,
Yeah.
God, you are with
So
me.
good.
I might be staring at something that completely fell apart, and it not look good from the world perspective. I can be blessed in the middle of it, because where God is, blessing is. And if He's with me in the middle of that mess, I am blessed. I'm not
Right.
blessed because of how it worked out. I'm blessed because He's with me in the middle of it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
So
Thank you.
good.
Speaking about that and being in the middle of things, obviously you've been in the middle of Elevation for a long time, and even just how long I've known you, just to see your transformation with personally within the ministry. I know you've had, I forget how many job titles now, over a dozen different job titles over the years. But just to see even your personal development, your personal growth, you've always consistently had those core values being the same. You're so passionate. You're the most hardcore bleeding orange person there is. And so there's so much of that passion and that energy and that heart that stayed the same. But then the way that you've kind of presented yourself and interacted in situations has obviously had to shift as the church has grown and as the ministry's changed. Take me through that process, maybe for people who are working on this personal development side. How am I supposed to grow? Where's God leading me? How can I improve in myself? I don't we always have that saying God loves me where I am, but He loves me so much He doesn't want to leave me where I am as well.
Very true. Great question. Makes me think about my relationship with my son. And so he is 17. His name is Corbin. He was born right when we started the church. So we moved into our house on a Friday night. We went to the hospital on Wednesday, the next Wednesday, had our firstborn son. So he is the age of the church. So when I think of Elevation, I think of an awkward 17-year-old who is bigger than they realize they think they are. They're so much bigger than they think they are. They got some armpit hairs and they got some body odor about themselves, but And they're trying to become a young adult. I look at our ministry, I think like that. But when my son was little, the goal was just to get him to not kill himself. Here are the rules. Here are the rules. Here are the rules. And when he was a little boy, he was willingly following the rules. But then as he became a toddler, he started to reject the rules. And a lot of my parenting turned into, no, you're going to follow the rules. And then I started to get really, really frustrated. So I think reinventing yourself is recognizing the frustration as a gift. And it's looking at the frustration to say, that's an indication something in me must change. So I remember when my son was probably 13, I had to go to him and apologize. And I said, I want to apologize because I think I've seen you. I haven't given you permission to become somebody different.
Right.
Wow.
I said, to me, you're still that little boy. But I can't raise you like a little boy that's just teaching you to follow the rules. I said, now I need to shift from being your rule enforcer to being your coach. Now the coach says, where do you want to go? What do you want to become? What do you want to do? How can I help you get there?
Yeah.
And so I think that relationship with my son really kind of shows kind of my role in the church. Early on, I'm the enforcer. Like, here are the rules, and you better... And then I started to realize, like, that can only get you so far, and that works with a toddler. That doesn't work with adults. And so I needed to shift in the space of, now, who do you want to become? What would be some of the things that would hinder you? What would be some of the things that would help you? How do you see yourself? How can I give you an honest reflection, help you see some of those things, and help you work some of those things? So as I've become a coach to my son, it really shows my role in the organization. It's like, how do I help you become who God's called you to be? Not how do I turn you into what I want you to be.
Yes.
Right.
And in my, in my bad parenting moments, you'll hear a lot of my language sounds like quit, don't, stop. Don't do that because you're frustrating me.
Yeah.
And so I want you to change your behavior because it's frustrating me. Parenting isn't changing behavior, it's shaping character.
That's great.
So my job has got to go from behavior to belief systems. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about God? What do you believe about this situation? And so as I've matured in that, so I bless the people around me at a different altitude.
It's amazing.
I just spent a whole week with awkward 17-year-olds at Youth X.
Yes.
Lots of them, 3,000 of them. And I had the privilege and honor of getting to see your son step up on stage, and we did a lightning round of 1 minute of preaching, and he went up there and he preached just like his dad. And it was so cool to see, but I can't imagine what it would be like, especially because he is the age of the church, to see your child grow up in this ministry. And so I would love for you to just share, like, what's it been like to see all of your children grow up in the ministry?
It's pretty cool. When my son was at Youth X, he did his 1 minute thing. He texted me right afterwards, and he's like, Dad, give me some constructive criticism for what I can do better. And I was like, oh gosh, I felt so bad because that was me.
Right.
I trained him to respond like that. He couldn't even celebrate it.
Right.
And so my response back to him was like, Corbin, I'm sorry. I have turned you into me. A guy who is never satisfied
Right.
and is always looking to the next thing.
Right.
I said, here's the first feedback I want to give you. We're going to start with some constructive celebration. So I said, here are 5 things that I want to celebrate with you. I said, now what you need to do in the text is identify 5 things you celebrate about yourself. Because he was too quick for constructive criticism.
Right.
And he skipped right past constructive celebration. And one of the things that, back to your question, that development piece is, how do we help people learn how to celebrate, but also coach and correct?
Yeah.
And so seeing my kids grow up in the ministry, seeing my son on stage at Youth X doing that, I was like, gosh, like, there's a joy beyond joy. But at the same time, my 9-year-old was watching Youth X. We've been talking about Jesus and salvation for months. And she's been asking lots of questions, having lots of talks about it. And I want my kids, when they come to salvation, to know that there's sacrifice. It's not cheap grace. It's not I'm just asking Jesus and I just keep skipping through life doing my thing. Because there always needs to be a sacrifice. So what are you willing to give up to follow Jesus? When Corbin was a little boy, Dad, I'll give up video games forever. And he was really like sincere because he was ready to follow Jesus. And then Linya, our 9-year-old, we're watching Youth X pastor preaching. And after we get done, she's like, Dad, I know I'm supposed to ask Jesus in my heart right now. So I'm like, okay. So Friday night of Youth X, she gives her life to Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
And so
Oh.
it's just, it's crazy. Wow. And to know that my kids grew up with that. And that's part of their legacy and their heritage. But also I want them to understand it's not normal.
Yeah.
Because when they're inviting their friends who go to, who are at school that may not go to church and may go somewhere else, when you invite them to church, they're picturing what they've only seen. And they've never seen what you see every week.
Right.
And one of the best things I ever did with Corbin is I took him to a traditional Baptist church.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow. And we didn't want to do it in a way that like would cast shadows on it.
Yeah.
But to just give him a glimpse of this is what other people's normal is.
Right.
And so, I don't know, we think we can do some things right with our kids, my wife and I, but man, some things we did wrong, like give me some constructive criticism. Like, oh son, I'm sorry.
Right.
You got that from your dad.
It's the God of both. Pastor Stephen shared with the staff
Yeah.
of like, one person's over here doing this, but God's also
Absolutely.
doing this. And so what
Absolutely.
an incredible story to hear that she gave her life to Christ that Friday night.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Well, it's just it's this journey of choosing to bring our kids along and to be part of this. There's always a sacrifice. So it means that we're not doing travel soccer teams. It means that there's things that
Yeah.
we just don't do as a family. We're not going to do those things. And so, but I also need to let them see the blessing of it. And so for them to see what they're a part of. I remember I took my 12-year-old, she just turned 12 a few days ago. Her name is Carson. I took her to one of the pop-ups. So we went to Washington, D.C. together. We had so much fun. It was really one of those moments where she saw kind of the size of the church. Like, wow, this is a big deal. We got to the airport, went to the car rental place. I had preached at the church like a week or two before it. And so I walk up to the counter, and the woman's got her phone, and she's looking at it. And she looks at me, and she looks like, goes, "Oh my gosh!" She turns. It's like, "Is this you?" She's watching my sermon from.
Way.
And my daughter, she's like, "What?" And we got done. She goes, "Are you like famous?" I said, "No. I said, "But God is really using our church to reach a lot of people."
Yeah.
And you could see her like, I didn't know that. And sometimes when we think the kingdom is confined to our cubicle,
Right.
and they realize it's way bigger than what we see or know. And when I can see my kids see those glimpses of it, it's pretty cool.
That's incredible.
That's amazing. You're talking about blessing and sacrifice,
Yeah.
and just the balance of both, and you need both. One can't be present without the other.
Yep.
And obviously, that's just making me think about us launching another campus.
Absolutely.
If you're in the Durham region, Elevation Toronto East, launching August 13th in Whitby.
Yeah.
Get there for sure. Every Sunday morning. It's going to be amazing. But with that, obviously there's blessing and a sacrifice with that to make it happen. And there may be some people on here right now that are like, oh man, maybe I need to get involved. Maybe I need to get more plugged in, stop going from like the consumer to contributor kind of mentality. Maybe not out there, maybe even right here in Mississauga or wherever they're watching from. And so what would you say to someone who's like just kind of on that edge, in that consideration process, really trying to figure that out?
Yeah. Blessing, sacrifice. It's kind of like I breathe in, then I breathe out. If I only want blessing, I'm just breathing in, but there's a rhythm of life of breathing out. And God blesses us to be a blessing.
Yeah.
And I think the easiest way to picture it is my open hand. Whatever ends up in my hand started in God's hand. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. Whether it's strength in my legs, whether it's my fully functioning mind, or whether it's my time, whether it's my money, that it's given by God, but it's not for me.
Right.
It's to bless other people with it. But here's the thing about time and money, is God cannot bless a clenched fist.
Yeah.
And when I think it's mine and I own it and I kind of get to determine what happens with it, I get to kind of like do whatever I want with it. But I got to start from the place if it comes from God. And if it comes from God, it's not for me, it's for the kingdom. It's to feed others and to bless others. So blessing, but the sacrifice is to keep an open hand. Here's what happens when scarcity, and a lot of people watching this are living in the land of scarcity. Yeah. Scarcity, I don't have enough. Anytime you have scarcity, I don't have enough, what do you do with your hand? You clench onto it. Time and money.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what happens. When money gets tight, where do people withhold from first? The kingdom. I stop giving to God because I don't have enough left. What happens with time? I don't have enough time. Yeah. I stop serving in the local church because I don't have enough time. Okay. I would want to teach people the biblical principle of first fruits. The biblical principle of first fruits is Old Testament when God brought nation Israel into the promised land. Every time they would have a harvest or every time they have a herd of animals, the first of it always goes to God. Yeah. And it's because God wants to be first in our lives. God does not want to be last. He wants to be first. But I want to teach you the tithe. What if I were to teach you how to tithe on your thoughts?
Wow.
What would life look like if our first thoughts went to God?
Wow.
How would life be different? God wants to be first.
Yeah.
What if I were to teach you to tithe on your language? Some dumb crap would not come out of our mouths. What if I were to teach you to tithe on your emotions?
Oh.
Let it be my first. God does not want to be last. So there's this principle of putting God first in our lives with our time, our talent, and our treasures to honor Him, to keep us grateful, and to prioritize Him in our lives. So people are looking at, oh, I'm glad you're going to launch this new campus. I don't have enough time to do that. You do if you put God first. If you're looking at it going, I don't have enough money to tithe, I would probably want to ask, is it because you're looking at what's left over? Because if He's first and I give to God before my rent, if I give to God before my electrical, before my new J's, before whatever, I have enough to give to God. Yeah. And so I'm so excited about you guys launching. Like, what an opportunity to reach the community. But the people watching this, will you be a part of that opportunity, or will you just be an outsider kind of celebrating it? One of my greatest joys being a part of this ministry from the beginning is now sitting here with you after 17 years of sacrificing and serving to see the fruit of it.
Yeah.
So I get to come to Toronto and see, like, wow, like in a small way, the seeds we sowed in the beginning are feeding the people in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone else will sit in your sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 5 years, when you launch another location, somebody watching this here today, this will be the catalyst for them to get engaged and involved. And in 5 years, they will have the joy of knowing God used their sacrifices to bless somebody else.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
It's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's such a word, and even no matter where you are, even if you don't live near the campus or you're not in the GTA, but you're wanting to get involved, there's other opportunities to serve and sow into this ministry, whether it be watch party leader, e-group leader, whatever it is. And I feel like God is calling so many people into that, especially in this season.
Well, there's a difference between good intentions and being intentional.
Yeah.
Good intentions, boy, we really need to, build a budget.
Yeah.
Boy, we really need to start praying together. We really need to get back in church. Good intentions. But being intentional is actually having a plan and prioritizing it. You'll never be intentional without prioritizing.
Right.
Life does not slow down. And sometimes we defer obedience by saying we're too busy now and we'll get to it eventually. It never happens. So, in this season, how do you want your life to be ordered?
Right.
Who do we want to become?
Right.
We can prioritize those things.
Yeah.
And so it's not about getting more volunteers in the church. I believe God will provide everything this church needs. But will you participate with God in His redemptive plan and experience a new level of joy in Him because you prioritize your life in a way that builds the life you want to become and gives God the glory He wants from us? So will I be intentional, or will I just have good intentions?
Right.
I don't know. It's a battle.
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah. Well, thank you, LB. Appreciate you sitting down, sharing your heart. It was amazing. So
Love you.
Thank you. Hope it encourages you guys as well. Wherever you're watching this, at home, in the car, at work, taking a break, whatever it is, I think it's so key. Don't just have good intentions, be intentional in every area. God can use you in such a big way. So thank you for being here. Thank you for just